Guys, welcome back to the Mr. CPA podcast. I am your host, Brian Credo, CPA, and on this podcast, we discuss self-improvement, personal finance, and all things accounting related. All right, guys, today we got a really good episode lined up for you guys. I know you, unless you've been living under a rock, I'm pretty sure you're aware that everyone's been talking about there's this upcoming recession, and we're about to go through hard times. And today, I really wanted to go over 5 main critical things that I think will put you in the best position for any situation, whether a recession happens or not. In my personal opinion, I do believe we are headed for somewhat of a downturn if we're not in it already. But these five things that I'm going to go over today, hopefully, just let's say a recession happens or not, these are things that I think you should be doing regardless. These 5 steps that I'm going to go over today, I have personally done them in my own life, and I feel like they put me in such a better position regardless of whatever external factors are going on in the world. So let's go ahead and hop into it. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have 6 months of living expenses on cash, ready to go for whatever happens. One thing that I think I've always really focused on is having enough cash savings in the bank to cover 6 months of living expenses. Now, I know you're probably going to get a lot of people tell you, oh, you're dumb. Inflation is eating your cash away. I get it. That's fine. But, one thing I don't think people take into account is my peace of mind is paramount. My peace of mind at night, going to bed every night, knowing that if something were to happen to me, or I don't know, God forbid, I lost my job or things didn't work out or whatever, I have cash on hand to cover me so me personally, I think I have a little bit more than actually a lot more than 6 months. But obviously I'm looking for opportunities, which I'll cover later in a later step in this video. But I think 6 months of living expenses is bare minimum. And if you're not there yet, I would highly encourage you to start working towards that. Figure out what your fixed expenses are each month. And that would be your rent, your utilities, if you have a car payment, whatever you have payments that you really can't get away from or you can't cut out, you need to add those up for a month, multiply that by 6. And that is how much cash you need to have on hand, ready to go. Because unfortunately, whether a recession happens or not, I think these are just things that you need to do as a financial professional and to be ready to really take on whatever comes at you, because life happens, right? Because, I'll give you guys a perfect example. Here on at one of my property that I own a duplex, and 2 months ago, a water heater broke. And it was about almost $1,000 with to replace it and have someone do the work and do all the stuff. And these costs come up, right? And thankfully, I have been preparing myself the past 8 years since I started working and graduated college to be able to put myself in a position where I can take care of those expenses, no problem. Where $1,000 comes up here, $2,000 comes up there, or whatever may come up, and I'm able to handle those purchases without really thinking about it or sweating or it sucks. I don't want to spend the money, but at the end of the day, I have that peace of mind, and just having that cash on hand and being able to look at it at the end of every month. I think the value and the intangible of having a peace of mind when you go to bed, knowing that, hey, I can really pay for any kind of, I don't even know what's the right word for it. What's the right word for it? What's the heck is the word that I'm looking for? Anything that comes up that's unexpected, that just, I can't think right now, but when something comes up and it's I'm not going to remember the word, when it's just a nuisance to your life, right? Where it just sucks. You have the cash on hand, and with uncertainty coming and bad times potentially coming our way, having that 6 months of cash reserve is going to give you so much peace of mind going into whatever it is that the market does, because the market will do what it does. But as long as you know that you have 6 months of living expenses of cash on hand, if you lose a job, if something bad happens, you know that you're covered. And believe me when I tell you, I think 6 months is more than enough time, especially if you have a good skill to fall back on and maybe find new work or whatever the case may be. Second thing you guys need to do, you need to pay off all your credit card debt. As you guys know, and if you follow any of my other social media platforms, every time I've pretty much done a video every time the Fed has increased interest rates. And although they don't increase they increase the federal funds rate, which is the rate at which banks let each other borrow money. So that kind of trickles down essentially into the amount that you're going to be paying interest on your credit cards. If you have, and remember, those are variable, right? It's a line of credit that you're essentially taking from the bank. You need to pay that off immediately. Like, you need to start working toward paying off any debt, because I can guarantee you the next Fed meeting, they're going to increase it by maybe 50 basis points, maybe another 75 basis points again. And your credit card interest is going to continue to go up. And believe me when I tell you, having a big balance on that and a few percentage points, increasing your interest rate is going to be a pain in the butt, 100%. So you really need to focus on paying off your credit card debt. If you have debt that's at a fixed rate, I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe like either student loans or a mortgage. Obviously, focus on paying those down, but the one that you really need to pay off is that variable interest debt that essentially comes from credit cards. And, I'm going to touch on this right now too. I feel like the older I've gotten, the more, I don't want to say the more I kind of look at consumer purchases, and I'm just like, when I was younger, I spent so much money on such dumb stuff. Oh my gosh. And thankfully, I was always kind of frugal, but there were some times where I spent money that, not that I didn't have, but more than I should have. And I think back, I'm like, why did I spend so much money on that stuff? And, it's okay, because, you sometimes you got to learn the hard way, and you develop as a professional and as just an overall responsible man. But these are things that, hopefully, if maybe you do have some credit card balances, you can really analyze those and realize that, man, I wasted so much money on dumb stuff that I probably don't even wear anymore. I don't use anymore. The girl that I was trying to impress is totally gone, or whatever the case may be, because I know I was in that situation before. So you need to pay off all your credit card debt, because interest rates are going to continue to go up. And I predict, my opinion, I could be wrong, but I think they're going to continue to go up for at least the end of 2022. That is that's what I think in my prediction. If you want to know more about current market news, obviously follow the main channel. And I post pretty much consistently on TikTok, more finance related stuff. Okay, third thing you need to do. You need to sit down and prepare a budget. You need to sit down, and I personally use Mint. I love Mint. I actually just did this today. I sat down and I analyzed, like, okay, what do I spend money on each and every month? What can I cut out? What is fixed and I can't move it? And what can I start saying, hey, maybe I should cut this off, because like I have an entertainment budget, right? Which that's the money that I use to go out and do whatever the heck I want, and I can buy bottle service, and I don't buy bottle service, but you get my point. You could spend money on whatever you want, and it's like, just because that's essentially money that's just discretionary to me, it's like, whatever, I could spend it on food, alcohol, drinks, whatever, just fun with friends. And that's the one area where I am going to cut down a little bit, because I'd rather have more cash on hand for opportunities that might come up. So I want you guys to really sit down and prepare a budget, and really just analyze all you need to do, even if you don't use Mint yet, which I highly recommend. If you're on this channel, we're going to grow this community. Everyone needs to be using Mint. It's such a good and easy platform to track all of your expenses, to prepare your budget, and know exactly where your money's going each and every month. So if you don't do that right now, I highly recommend anywhere where you either have credit card purchases or bank transactions, what you're going to do is you're going to download the data for a month. And you're literally just going to pull it in Excel, and you're going to see, hey, I spend X amount on this. I spent this much on, food this month. This is my rent. This is my mortgage. This is my car payment, insurance, whatever. Anything that you spend money on, you need to properly allocate it, and you need to determine, what can I start cutting out? What is unnecessary? What is just discretionary that, in these times, preparation is key, and those who fail to prepare prepare to fail. So the best thing you can do right now is prepare a budget, and any expense that isn't completely necessary right now, really evaluate if you need to take on that expense at the moment. Because if you don't, I highly recommend you start trimming down certain things to have more cash on hand, to either pay down the credit card, save up to 6 months, or have more discretionary income. The fourth thing you guys need to do, and this is maybe unpopular to say, but you really need to update your resume now, because layoffs happen. Thankfully, thank God, I've never personally been laid off from a job, but these things happen, and we hear about every week now in the market. I feel like, especially if you work at a tech company, there's been a lot of layoffs, and it's very unfortunate, but it's just kind of part of business and part of the process. And I think the more you can really put yourself in a position to, if it were to happen, you have your 6 months of living expenses, you have no credit card debt, you prepared a budget so you know exactly what you can live on by bare bones existence. Now, hey, let's say it does happen for whatever reason, and I hope it doesn't. You have your resume updated. You're prepared for this. You were ready to go. It doesn't come to you as a complete shock and your whole world is upside down. It's like, hey, look, I utilized the first 3 steps in this video to prepare myself. I have my resume updated. It's unfortunate. My company that I work at is going through a bad time, and unfortunately I was laid off and let go, and these things do happen. And again, I hope they don't happen, but in times like these where there's so much uncertainty, I feel like you need to prepare for these things because they could happen. And the better prepared you are, the better you're going to go into this. And chances are, especially if you're listening to this podcast, this YouTube channel, I guarantee you guys, you are probably not going to be those individuals that are laid off, because if you're watching this video, you want to get better. That means you have the drive and the motivation to get to that next level. You wouldn't be consuming content like this, or you'd be consuming some other dumb stuff on Netflix, but instead you're watching this from someone that has kind of been there and done that, but is still on my own path as well. And the fact that you're here tells me that you are achieving or trying to get to that excellent position. And I've always said this, no matter what happens in the market, there's always excellent jobs for excellent people. And you need to keep that in mind, regardless of what's going on. If you have a high skill set, if you know what you're doing, you are in demand, you are becoming a master at whatever craft you do. Hopefully it's accounting, but there might be other people that aren't into that. If you're becoming a master at that, you really don't need to worry about anything. There will always be a position for you no matter what. Kind of goes hand in hand with updating your resume. Start looking at if there's any way you can start having a side hustle or some type of way to have side income. I, for example, am even potentially going to it's not something I want to do, but it's kind of something that I've been looking into is starting my own Shopify store. I have no idea how to do it. I'm looking at creating some products for the main channel and this podcast, more kind of accounting related cool stuff. Still in the works. I literally just thought about it this weekend on a run, and sometimes I just really, on my runs or on my walks on the weekends when I do my cardio, I think about like, all right, how can I continue to grow this channel? How can I continue to grow my TikTok? What else can I do that kind of coincides with those two things? And yeah, maybe start looking into, should I sell some products? But the only thing kind of holding me back from doing that is I don't really come on here to sell you stuff, I come on here more so selfishly for myself, because it helps me stay accountable to myself, and I track my own progress through making these videos, and honestly, and I do it because I get a lot of fulfillment from getting the messages from you guys. Even again, I think we're at 27 subscribers now. We're up 1, and I'm completely super thankful for that. But anyways, I went on a tangent. But yeah, update your resume and start looking at certain side hustles or things you could do on the side to increase your income, because the more in environments like this where the market's down, you don't really know what's going on, regardless of inflation, cash is king. I know a lot of people will say, oh yeah, cash is terrible to hold right now, but cash gives you security. And sure, maybe you're losing 8% on it every year or every month based on what's going on with inflation, but that peace of mind I get is 100% ROI, the intangible of just going to bed every day with the calmness that I do, and I'm not worried about, hey, my bills are due next month or anything. So I think having that and being able to think of ways, especially in this market right now, in this environment, to start maybe increasing your income wouldn't be the worst thing. Okay, and the last step, the step number 5, is that look for opportunities in this market. I know right now is everyone's telling you not to invest in the stock market, and everyone's selling, and the stock market, I think the S&P 500 is literally down. I think we're in bear market territory now, so we're down more than 20%, and everything is doom and gloom, and the whole economy is going to collapse. One thing I can probably guarantee you guys is that the market's going to come back. It will come back. Just like, I am 30 years old. I'm 30. So I was, in 2008, I was what was I? Graduated high school 2009. I was about 16 when the Great Recession happened. And I can still remember those times where people were like, it's the end of the world. This is the worst thing that ever happened. Everything is going to go belly up. It's never going to come back. Real estate was down. Stocks were down. Everything was down. And lo and behold, if you would have asked anyone, if they would have started investing in 2008, and let's say they exited their positions at the end of 2020, mid 2022, they would have made so much money. So with that being said, just know that the market's going to come back. And I don't just mean the stock market. I think everything in general. I think this is just the way the economy goes. It's the ups and flows of the market. And as long as you can ride the wave and look for opportunities in this market, there will be. Just know that one thing I've learned in my investment journey and just my life in general is that wherever the crowd goes, if you're doing the exact opposite, you're more than likely going to end up on the better side of the spectrum. And I've learned that in my, not only in my professional life, but my investing life also, is that when people are really bullish on something and it's the best thing ever, and even like when Bitcoin was like at 66,000 and everyone's like, yeah, it's going to go to 1 million next month, and then ended up tanking now, and Bitcoin is now below 20,000, right? So little things like that where and you know, I one time I posted a TikTok where I was dumb and I went against my own principles and I invested in Dogecoin when I think it was like 30 cents, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna buy in and ride the wave. I think I invested like $2,000 or something. I posted a TikTok on it. I'm actually showing like I lost like a lot of money, and till the day, well, I haven't sold anything yet. I'm still holding it because I'm not gonna sell it. But yeah, I think right now I'm down like $2,500 on that investment. And it's because I followed the crowd, and I should have looked for opportunities, and I should have been smarter than that to look at, man, there's so much typically when investor sentiment is really high and everyone's like, yeah, this is the next best thing. That's probably when you should take a step back, evaluate the position you're in, whether it's a stock position or a personal, professional, and realize, is this where I want to be right now? And it's just things to start thinking about that. With these opportunities that come up, you really need to have a level head and understand that if you're the only one thinking this, or there's only certain people that you feel you're going in that direction and everyone else is telling you you're an idiot, chances are, I'm not saying you're going to be right, okay? But chances are you might be going in the right direction. And there's one more thing I wanted to talk about in this video is that, so everyone's predicting this recession, right? And it's funny, I was in a senior management meeting last week, and a comment was made by one of my colleagues, and essentially he said that recessions, how do I explain this? They essentially happen because since everyone's talking about them, and it's funny how even the steps I'm telling you to do, if everyone did this, it would essentially induce a recession because people would stop spending, they'd stop going out, they'd cut out all unnecessary stuff. So maybe I'm part of the problem in this, but it's funny how as soon as people start talking about a recession and a recession here, and even if someone says, oh yeah, a recession isn't likely, just the sheer fact that they're mentioning the word recession, it starts getting people in that mindset of, hey, maybe I should start cutting back. And I'll give you a perfect example. One of my good friends, he was going to go take a big trip with his family. They were planning on it, but essentially it was going to cost a lot of money, and they're actually not going anymore because they're like, yeah, we're not really sure in this environment we want to spend that kind of money right now, so we're going to cancel it and save the few $1,000s that we were going to spend on it. And right away, this happened literally this weekend, and right away that's when I knew, I'm like, oh shoot, like, yeah, that might be it. The fact that everyone's talking about a recession, and that even if you say it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, the sheer fact that word's even being thrown out, consumer psychology and people's behavior starts changing because they get more on the defensive. And let's just say, for example, if everyone did these 6 steps that I'm talking about, everyone held on to cash, they had 3 to 6 months of living expenses, they paid off all their credit card debt, they cut out all unnecessary expenses, that would essentially in itself induce a recession because of the behavior of people. And it's funny how, who knows what's going to happen, but I just think the sheer fact that it's being brought up and that consumer behavior is changing and people are thinking 2 times, they're second guessing themselves about spending certain discretionary income instead of saving it. I think, I could be wrong, okay, but I think that in itself is going to induce a market downturn that I think we all need to prepare for. So, all right, guys, it's going to be it for the video today. If you found some value in the video, please make sure to hit the like button below. I'm really trying to make these videos unscripted, just things that kind of come to mind that I feel that are in my head, that I kind of think about, that I journal in my journal every week, and that I feel like can help a lot of you. So if you found some value in the video, please make sure to hit the like button below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the main channel where I teach everything about accounting, audit, personal finance, all that stuff. And yeah, until next time, work hard, dress well. Peace.